like now to call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, August 4th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Salkaitis.
Here.
Pope.
Here.
Bongard.
Here.
Munn. Here. Dem.
Here.
Bauman. Here. Petrella.
Here.
Werbo.
Here.
Besner.
Here.
Weber.
Here. And I'd like to ask Alderman Gem to give tonight's indication.
Thank you. Good evening. Good and gracious Lord, we ask for your grace, comfort, and peace to all the families affected by the tragic incident on the Fox River last week. We thank you for keeping all our first responders safe during the long hours of rescue and recovery efforts. Grant us your wisdom and guidance during our meeting this evening as issues are discussed and decisions are made. Help us to be respectful during discussions and thoughtful in our decisions. Keep safe our police, fire, EMTs, and all first responders as they go about keeping our residents and visitors safe. Bless and guide our mayor, elected and appointed officials, city staff, all city employees as they strive to make St. Charles the best place to live, work, and play. Amen.
I'd like to ask Alderman Besner to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item up tonight is going to be Alderman Munns and Alderman Bongard to present the Spirit of St. Charles Awards. What I want to do before they begin is just tell a little bit, if you haven't been here, what the Spirit of St. Charles Awards are about. As Alderman Gem just said, we live in a wonderful, wonderful community. There are so many people that contribute to that. What we want to do is we want to recognize each council meeting some individuals and adults, a youth, and a business who lives in the 2nd Ward this week or this month, and to thank them for the contributions that they've made to our community and that make St. Charles what it is. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to them, and they're going to go ahead and present the awards.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So tonight, it is our pleasure to recognize an individual who truly embodies the very essence of community spirit, and selfless dedication for the Spirit of St. Charles Award. I am speaking of Megan Bishop. If I can get her to come up and... Megan, there you are. When I think of someone who consistently goes above and beyond, who pours their heart and soul into making our community a better place, Megan Bishop automatically comes to my mind. My reasons for nominating Megan are numerous, and she has been deeply rooted in and unwavering in her commitment to the well-being of St. Charles. One of Megan's most significant contributions has been her tireless dedication to St. Charles Girls Softball League. She was a founding volunteer board member in 2019, and her commitment didn't waver when her own daughters aged out of the program. Megan has continued to serve, ensuring that the league sustains success for all the young athletes in our community. The work that she and the rest of the volunteers who make that organization run now have provided countless girls with opportunities to learn, grow, and thrive through sport. Beyond the softball field, Megan has extended her service to the broader community through her involvement on the St. Charles Youth Commission. For the past 2 years, she's lent her valuable insights and leadership skills to this commission, acting as the chairperson this year. Her work there directly impacts the lives of our city's youth. And her spirit of volunteerism is not confined to this formal role. In her perpetual presence at school and sports events, she is always ready to lend a hand, offer support, or simply cheer on our children. Megan embodies the very spirit of what this award represents in her selflessness, leadership, and enduring commitment to making our city a better place for everybody. It's for these reasons and many more that we present Megan Bishop with the Spirit of St. Charles Award.
want to move your stuff? Sorry. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. I have the pleasure of recognizing a great local business that calls the Second Ward home. One I admit my family spends a lot of time at as the weather warms up each year. I'm, of course, talking about our friends at Heinz Brothers Greenhouse Garden. For more... For more than 30 years, Heinz Brothers has helped bring color and life to our homes, gardens, and public spaces. It doesn't matter if you're an amateur gardener or have two green thumbs, because Heinz Brothers is more than a garden center. It's a place where families make memories, where local traditions bloom, and the love of nature is cultivated year-round. To Jay, Heidi, and the entire Heinz Brothers team, we want to thank you for all your hard work and commitment to local business and community support. Your involvement in the Potawatomi Garden Club, Project Daffodil, St. Charles Fine Arts Show, Scarecrow Fest, the list goes on and on. These are all great examples of the wonderful contribution you've made to the city of St. Charles. Please join me in another round of applause for Heinz Brothers Greenhouse, our Ward 2 Spirit of St. Charles.
Tonight, we have the honor of recognizing not just one, but two remarkable young women who exemplify the very best of our community's spirit, Sisters Addison and Brooklyn Schilb. If we can have Brooklyn come out. We only have one present with us tonight. Leslie, if you want to come up on Addie's behalf, we only have one sister tonight. The other one is she at a tournament? College visit tonight. So we have Leslie, the mother of Addie Schilb tonight. So Addie and Brooklyn, we celebrate these two individuals in the areas of academic excellence, notable athletic achievement, and peer leadership. Addie and Brooklyn, through their individual pursuits and commitment to excellence, they both hit the mark on all of these achievements. We'll first talk about Addie and her journey through high school, which has been exemplary, marked by consistent achievements across multiple disciplines. In her sports, her dedication is evident, where she was a freshman volleyball player and a formidable presence on the track team at a varsity level for all 4 years, earning all conference and all sectional honors for 3 and all academic recognition for 3. Her athletic prowess shone brightly as a state qualifier in the 4x200 relay, triple jump in her sophomore year, and again, triple jump as a junior. On the basketball court, Addie was all conference in both her sophomore and junior years, alongside all academic honors for 3. Beyond her athletics, her academic and leadership contributions are equally impressive. She's a member of both the National Honor Society and Science National Honor Society, demonstrating her commitment to scholarly excellence. Her leadership skills were recognized as a peer leader in her junior year and has stepped up as a PE leader for her senior year. She truly shines through in her receipt as her Human Relations Award in the fall of 2023, and her artistic talents have been celebrated both in the second place finish at the Visual Arts Show in 24 and Kane County Student Photo Contest in the fall of 24. And then in her commitments to our community, Addie serves as a lifeguard at the Swanson Pool and generously shares her skills teaching private basketball lessons. Now for Brooklyn. So Brooklyn's a rising star who has already made significant impacts in her early high school career. She's a rising sophomore, and her talent and dedication were immediately apparent as she earned a spot on the varsity basketball team her freshman year. Her commitment to both academics and athletics were recognized early on as she achieved all academic and all conference honors her freshman year. Academically and in leadership, Brooklyn has also distinguished herself. She's a member of Science National Honor Society, reflecting her intellectual curiosity and drive. Her potential and positive influence were further acknowledged with prestigious Breakfast of Champions Award for the 2024-25 school year. And like her sister, she gives back to the community by teaching private basketball lessons and inspiring younger athletes with her passion and skills. What truly makes Addie and Brooklyn deserving of the Spirit of St. Charles Award is not just the individual lists of accomplishments, but the collective examples that they set. They're role models for their peers, demonstrating just what is possible with hard work, dedication, and engagement. Their shared passion for sports, academic excellence, and willingness to serve all contribute to the vibrant and supportive community that we cherish in St. Charles. So with that, I ask you to recognize both of them for the Spirit of St. Charles Award. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and again, congratulations. All right, next up, I am going to ask if Alderman Sokaitis will now present the omnibus item for vote, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the omnibus vote as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Sokaitis?
Yes.
Folks?
Yes.
Bongard?
Yes.
Munn?
Yes.
Gem?
Yes.
Spellman?
Yes.
Petrola?
Yes.
Warble?
Yes.
Besner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, next up on the agenda is old business item A, motion to approve a resolution approving a certificate of appropriateness for demolition of the 217 Cedar Avenue. Before I begin, and before I ask if there's a motion in a second, I do want to take a minute to go ahead and address the issue. The 217 Cedar Avenue property is also known as the Berry House. So I'd like to spend a little bit of time in advance of this item to provide some background. The vote tonight is whether or not the City Council will approve the resolution granting their certificate of appropriateness at that house. When I look in the audience tonight, I know that we have many people in the audience here tonight that feel very strongly on both sides of this issue. I appreciate you being here, and I know the City Council does as well. I also appreciate all the phone calls, the visits, the different things and different communication that you've had with all of us to let us know your position. When I look here and I see the interest, it makes what St. Charles is. It's community involvement, passion, and I appreciate that. The goal has been and always will be to continue to find a solution that would be what I would characterize and many characterize as a win-win. That win-win would allow the church to sell the property at a fair market value and would also preserve the Berry House for future use. That's a win-win for the church, it's a win-win for the people that want to see the Berry House preserved, and it's a win-win for the city. I want to take a moment to outline everything that's happened since May 12th of 2025 when this item was last up. These are the different ways that this council and the different members on both sides have worked together to try to find a solution to this. The different ways when I met with the church, when I met with the preservation group, when I talked to the different council members, again, three different options that we've been trying to accomplish since May 12th, since the last meeting. Number one, that the church is able to sell the house to a person or an organization that, again, would preserve the house, but that sale would be at a fair market value as determined and appraised. Second is that the church would either sell or give the Berry House to a person or organization that could move the house, thereby accomplishing the goal of being able to free up that space and also preserving the house. Or three, another discussion that has been up here at different times has been to try to sell the property along with the houses to the city. And so, again, I want to make sure that everybody understands that nobody has been sitting on their hands since May 12th. It's been the exact opposite. Everybody has been sitting down and working hard to try to figure out how to get to that win-win. Unfortunately, despite the best efforts of everyone involved, and despite just a lot of hard work, we haven't been able to achieve any of those three options. I want to tell you again and emphasize to you that as mayor of St. Charles, I know that myself, as well as all 10 members of council, have been actively engaged with conversations with the church, the preservation, interested citizens, and anybody else that wants to reach out and talk to us. And I greatly appreciate the time that the council has spent taking all those phone calls and reflecting. Personally, as the mayor, I want to make sure that I want to thank the church. I want to thank the Preservation Committee and all the interested citizens for all the hard work over the last 3 months. Specifically, there's been a lot of people involved. That the people that have been just working so hard at this on behalf of the church has been Brian Harris. On behalf of the preservations groups, Kim Millay and Al Watts. And then, there's many, many more, but just last Tuesday, we sat across from each other at a table. We had conversations. I can't tell you that, those conversations were comfortable at times, but the most important part is that everybody from both sides were willing to sit down and continue to talk to try to figure out a solution to the problem. Now, in a couple minutes, the city council is going to take a vote on whether to issue the demolition permit. And before that vote occurs, I want to just share a few thoughts. When decisions like this are made, and I have reflected on this as a judge. Before I became the mayor, I was a judge for 15 years. And when you make a decision like this at the city council level or in a courtroom, you understand that people are very passionate on both sides of the issue. It's hard to recognize that no matter what the decision is tonight, that not everybody's going to be happy. And that weighs on everybody that's here. I want you to recognize that. Everybody that runs for office understands that they're going to be called upon to take tough votes. But I will tell you that it's a lot more fun to walk into city council chambers celebrating the Spirit of St. Charles Award than it is knowing that there's going to be votes like tonight and IMEA in a couple weeks. But when you run for office, you understand that that's part of what you're running with. But I do want to share with you that as a former judge, I have asked myself over the past 3 months, what would Judge Barry expect the city council to do? I think that's fair. He was a judge, and what would he expect? What would he want? And I haven't had a chance to talk to him, obviously, but thinking about judges and thinking about his history, this is what I came up with. I think that if Judge Barry were to be here, that he would want the city council to make this decision in the following manner. One, he would want to make sure that the city council researched and understood all the facts. To work hard that everybody understood the facts, not what has been put out there, not what, it just, ultimately it's fact-finding. And I can guarantee you that that's been done. Second, I would think that Judge Barry would want us to listen and to keep an open mind, to listen to both sides, to understand both sides. Third, I know Judge Barry would want the council to deliberate and to reflect, and not to rush to judgment, not to make a decision based upon emotion or public pressure, but rather to reflect, to think about the decision, to think about why the council is making the decision it is, and to do that, and to just work hard at deliberating and reflecting. And finally, I know that Judge Barry, as a judge, would want this decision to be one that was made transparently and that was communicated, to make sure that the decision-making process was transparent, to make sure that that decision was communicated, and that's what we want to do tonight, and that's what we've always wanted to do. Again, as the mayor, I can guarantee you that the city council members that are here tonight have done all that and more. And as a mayor, I'm very, very proud of all the work that everybody has done leading up to tonight. Whatever the decision is, I hope that all sides understand that it's not easy. I do want to address a couple things just real quick that I've heard, and I want to make sure that if the vote is to, and I don't know what the vote is going to be, but if the vote is to approve the demolition permit, it is not a vote that says that the city doesn't care about historic preservation. I've heard that. That's not true. If the vote is to approve the demolition or to deny the demolition permit, It doesn't mean that the city council cares more about historic preservation than it does about the church or its members or the contribution that the Baker Methodist Church has made to this community and has continued and will continue to make to this community. But most importantly, what I want to say is, the mayor, is that, remember, this is just one vote. And I know when people walk out of here, there will be feelings and there'll be emotion. But no matter what the vote is tonight, I know that the city is committed to continuing to work together with both sides to continue to try to figure out if we can achieve that goal of win-win. So with that, is there a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for demolition?
I'll move it. Weber will move it.
Second?
Okay, motion by Weber, second by Gem. Are there any questions or comments by the city council before I ask for a roll call vote? Ms. Munns?
I have some comments.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I just ask, and I know that we've done this, but we have such a huge crowd, if you can just make sure that
I know.
you speak into the mic. I'm having trouble doing that.
So I know that you said a lot of the same things that I've been thinking, and I don't want to repeat, a lot of the things that Mayor Hull has said. I echo everything that he has said about all of the work that everyone up here has put into this, and the conversations that we have had have been many with a lot of the people that I see in the audience, all of the people that sit up here. And, for myself, I just want to say that, in my decision-making, I look at a lot of the different pieces of this, in that this is one of the oldest structures in St. Charles. I've listened to a lot of people who have been born and raised here in St. Charles, that, I'm not an expert on history. I can say that I respect and understand people who do revere that history, and I want to make sure that we are listening to the people that have a feeling about what the meaning of those things are in the community in which they were brought up, that they chose to live in, like I do. I also feel that there is a precedent that is set when you make changes to historic structures. You decide for the entire community what that value is. And there is a uniqueness to specific pieces of history in this city. So my vote will reflect those things, and I'm happy to have conversations with people at any time about why I made choices that I did. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments by any other members of council? Okay.
Thank you.
Recognizing Alderman Spellman.
Thank you. I would just like to add that one of the considerations that I have that may reflect a little bit of confusion I feel like there's been around the home is that it's not just about the historic significance of that particular home, which there is perhaps some controversy about, but to me it's about the neighborhood, the entire district. And does one home coming down change the character of the district? Maybe not, but there's been 3 down so far, I believe, and another one could make a difference. And so to me, it's not just the home, because I know a lot of people disagree that it is historically significant, but I do think that it would affect the character of the neighborhood to take down another, and the precedent that Alderman Munns spoke of as well concerns me.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Salkada?
No.
Folks?
No.
Baumgart?
Yes.
Munn?
No.
Gem?
Yes.
Spellman?
No.
Petrella?
No.
Wirball?
No.
Besner?
No.
Weber?
Yes.
Okay, by a vote of 7-3, the certificate for demolition has been denied. So as I had said, we will move on to other agenda items, but again, I do want to indicate to all that this is not the end. I hope that we can continue to work together. So, new business, I'm looking for a motion to approve a proposal for a new Class E1 temporary liquor license for Riverland Brewing for August 9th of 2025.
Weber will move. Second.
Okay, I'm going to take a moment just to let everybody file out, and then we'll continue. Okay, at this point, there has been can I go ahead, and who made the motion?
Weber did.
Weber, second?
Second.
I'll take it.
All right. Petrilla, second. Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Falcones,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Bongardt,
Yes.
Munn,
Yes.
Gam,
Yes.
Spellman,
Yes.
Petrola,
Yes.
Wirball,
Yes.
Besner,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
And I appreciate Deputy Chief Lamella being here. I didn't ask him if he wanted to make any comments.
I'm good.
All right. My apologies. Okay. Next up, committee reports. Alderman Weber, anything from government operations?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Alderman Bondgard, anything from government services?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Alderman Wirbel, anything from planning and development?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, we now turn our attention to public comments. Are there any public comments that anyone would wish to make tonight? Okay, when you step up, please state your first and last name and your town that you live in, please.
Arthur Lemke, member of the Second Ward, and early on in my experience here in the city, I was instrumental in resuscitating a historic preservation ordinance, and the intent is not to keep everything like it is, but it's the intent to move forward, and things like we've done with facade improvements and so forth say a lot about, yes, we care about the city maintaining historic structures and improving those. And my hope is that we can move forward with this and maybe still have one of those options that we talked about having been discussed in the last week. And I've lost a few nights trying to think of lots where I would move it, and moving that house a very long distance is economically not desirable. But I don't have the answer, but I hope there's still some opportunities that we can investigate. That's me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lemke. Other public comment? Debbie?
Hello, everybody. My name is Debbie Motter, and I'm here tonight to speak about the IMEA contract that I know you're voting on next Monday in government services, and the presentation that you heard last week from Sean Kessler. As a member of the IMEA task force, I want to share just a little bit about our process. One of our first tasks was to hire a consultant. After culling through about 14 consulting firms, we interviewed 2, and the task force unanimously selected Sean. We liked his experience, and we liked how he would approach the job. As he shared last week, he has 36 years of experience in the industry, including 13 years of consulting with power marketers, utilities, and large load entities. I believe his presentation last week was unbiased and factual. Before finalizing his presentation, it's important to note that Sean took into consideration feedback from both the members of the task force as well as feedback from IMEA. I encourage you all to listen to his report again, as I've done this week. There's a lot of significant statements in his report, as well as answers to many of your questions. For example, a not-for-profit organization does not necessarily mean the lowest price provider. IMEA sets its rates based on the revenue it needs each year. Sean shared that the IMEA's G&A expenses are 2 to 3 times higher than one of the 2 power marketers that we actually talked to. The rates from power marketers are driven by supply and demand. These companies operate on thin margins, and they must be price competitive in order to succeed. Their size affords them economies of scale and efficiencies. Sean described how IMEA's model must have long-term contracts to secure debt obligations. Power marketers offer greater flexibility. For instance, they can open existing contracts if there is a business need or a desire to adjust the portfolio. That's not possible currently. Sean talked about approaching the power market somewhat like the stock market. So by dollar cost averaging in as you go and leveraging the short-term contracts. We would get a fixed price versus a rate schedule. Just think how much has changed in the past 20 years. The power mix has changed, coal has declined, natural gas advanced, and renewables have blossomed. Deregulation has led to competitive wholesale markets and retail markets where the customer gets to decide who to get their power from. Advances in technology have brought electrification of vehicles and buildings, battery storage, a focus on energy efficiency, and a boom in the data centers. Climate change concerns have led to a shift toward cleaner energy and reduced emissions. There will continue to be lots of advances over the next 5 and certainly 10 years. Please don't limit our future opportunities. Say yes to having local control, local flexibility, and say no to status quo, and no to another 20-year contract. I know you're tired. Thank you for listening. We appreciate your time and your service to this community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Martha. If you could please state your full name and your address, please.
Martha Goss,
St. Charles.
St. Charles, Illinois. Hi, everyone. I'm submitting for the record the signatures that we have from our online petition, and these are in addition to the handwritten signatures and the others that I submitted for the record on the March 17th meeting. The text of our petition is included in here, but I'm not going to reread it. I've read it into the record several times. The summary is that all of the petition signers are asking for you to not renew the contract at this time with IMEA and to get competitive bids. Let's hear what the other people have to say. There's 110 handwritten signatures and 551 online signatures, and I just want to say that we didn't do any promotion to get the online signatures. It's all just been word of mouth, people in the community who are interested in this issue. Not everybody has the opportunity to come to these meetings and express their opinion, but they're doing it with this petition. Okay, I also wanted to address or ask you, please, not to fall for the argument that Prairie State will be burning coal no matter what St. Charles does. They don't have a crystal ball into the future. Right now, they're saying that that's what they're going to do, that they're going to continue to burn coal, but they are absolutely not going to continue to burn coal if they don't have a guaranteed buyer for it, they don't have a guaranteed market, and if they can't sell it for the price that it would cost them to put it on the market. Just like Debbie said, there's going to be a lot of advances in the next several years. Things are moving forward exponentially. It's not just a steady incline anymore. It's an exponential incline in terms of what technology is doing and also what will be available. So just want you to realize they're not going to run at their full capacity unless it's cost effective to do so. So why would we give them a profit guarantee to burn that coal by signing a contract that extends to 2055? And then Sean presented 2 slides last week that showed the current power plants in Illinois. The one was this one, the current power plants in Illinois, that says that there's 45,000 megawatts of power right now. And then he also followed on with this proposed power plant slide that is 17,000 megawatts coming on board, and along with 57,000 megawatts. So more than double what we have currently that's out there. They're generation projects in the transmission queue. Okay. His conclusion on this slide is there is an abundance of planned generation projects. So just thinking back to what I just said about, is Prairie State really going to run that coal plant? They're telling you they are, but are they really? We don't know. We don't know what these people are going to be offering their power at, and there's going to be a lot of it. Okay. There's 10 years now between now and when our contract expires, and then there's 13 years before Prairie State has to reduce its emissions by 50%. Obviously, those are almost the same time period, 10 and 13 years. IMEA supplied a slide of an expected power supply mix that shows their planned emissions reduction. So this is with the CEJA in effect. That's the slide you guys all saw last week, okay? If you could look at it again, I just want to point out that that top bar that is increasing on this graph all the way across is power marketers. So they're saying they're going to go out to the power marketers to get more of that energy. And so I just have to ask, why would you sign a contract with IMEA for them to go out to the power marketers when we could have those power marketers come in and talk to us and give us their prices directly? You think we're not going to be paying a middleman? We are. We are going to be paying a middleman for that. In short, the citizens have been urging the council to hear from an independent consultant and to get bids from other power marketers. The presentation by the independent consultant fully supported our arguments to the council, the arguments that we've been making to you for the last over a year. We're overpaying for dirty energy, and other options are available. Now is the time for you to review the facts before you and listen to the sound advice and listen to what the citizens are asking you to do. It's not always easy to do the right thing, but here you have the evidence right in front of you that you need to support doing the right thing. It's just up to you to do it. Thank you for listening. And I'm going to submit these signatures for the record.
Okay, thank you very much.
My name's Greg Taylor, and I'm a resident of the 4th Ward also. And I want to start off by thanking Clint, Mayor Hall. He's the one that got that task force, publicly recognize him. Clint is the one that got the task force started. He supported it. He supported hiring an independent consultant, which was critical for you to receive the unbiased information that you received. And besides, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and my wife. and besides just supporting that, Clint also created the environment, because there was a lot of tough debate in that room, and opinions were shared, and they were asserted, and they were debated, and we had a lot of disagreement in that room. But he made a safe place there for people to do that. And without that, I don't think we would have gotten the quality of the document that you received last week. So thank you, Mayor Hall. Now I want to go on with the statement here. It's not so nice. But for over the past year and a half, in my opinion, IMEA representatives have been making at best misleading statements pertaining to this decision that you're soon going to be making. And I'm going to go over a few of those in a minute. But I want you to ask yourself while I'm going over this, why were they making these assertions? The first one is, early and often in this process, we heard IMEA take partial credit for keeping the lights on in our community. This assertion was first made on June 24th of last year. And it was made again on March 24th of this year. And this falsehood had staying power. Our independent consultant last week made it very clear that the grid operator, PJM, and our city utilities are the entities that are responsible for keeping our lights on. And I'm going to quote him from last week. So I know, Mark, you weren't there last week, but if you could watch that, I'm going to quote directly from from his presentation, beginning to quote, "I can't stress this enough. The reliability and deliverability has nothing to do with your power provider. Whether it's IMEA, Constellation, or another one of these companies or a joint action agency. This is all done by PJM and ultimately across the St. Charles delivery system." And I bring this up now because I still hear people, just last week, a month ago, pointing to delivery, the reliable delivery of electricity to our homes and businesses as a reason to support this contract. And it shouldn't be. We heard from an independent expert that we all agree to listen to all the evidence and to make statements of fact. And he couldn't be more clear on that. And he made that assertion, he made that statement at least twice, maybe 3 times. To many of the residents, the "we keep the lights on" assertion seemed like a scare tactic, with the underlying message to you of, if you don't sign on with us and you sign on with somebody else, they might not be able to keep the lights on, alderperson, and you're going to be the one receiving these phone calls, and you're the ones that are going to have to suffer the political damage if the lights aren't kept on. And they have nothing to do with keeping the electricity moving to our homes, to our organizations, and to our businesses. It was clearly stated twice. That's PJM and our fine city utility led by Peter. A second deception that we often heard from IMEA representatives was, if you don't sign with the city, you don't sign with us, that the city will have to add several additional employees at a great cost to take care of all the services that IMEA provides St. Charles now. Mr. Kessler once again last week told us that this is not accurate. He stated that there are several well-qualified Fortune 500 companies that can provide the services that IMEA provides us now. So why was this inaccurate assertion made so many times? This also appeared to many of us as another scare tactic to get you to sign on early. Now, even if you don't agree with me or some of these other citizens that these were scare tactics, you have to ask yourself, why were these assertions being made? I have no idea if they weren't trying to scare you into signing this contract early. A third comment that has been made several times by IME representatives is that they need for us to re-sign now 10 years in advance so that they can range for our power supply post-2035. If that much lead time is needed, why is there competition telling us to come back in 5 years to get a quote? I also want you to refer back to the slide that Martha had regarding all the planned power plants in Illinois coming up and how that's going to more than double our capacity when they all come online. I saw that last night. Last week is the first time I saw that. And so I had a follow-up question to Sean, which I just got a response back from him just a couple hours ago. And I asked him, I said, Sean, I said, is one of the logical conclusions of that slide is that the assertion and that they need 10 years exaggerated, is an overreach? And he came back, yes, that is a logical conclusion to that slide. They don't need 10 weeks. And then he went on to state that for a purchase power agreement, they can be signed within 6 months. If you want it, I'll be glad to forward that email to you. I just got it just the other day. A slogan that we often hear from IMEA is they want to provide us, or that they do provide us, with reliable, affordable, and sustainable power. I already talked about reliability. and there is nothing sustainable about 80% coal. I want to talk a little bit about affordability. In Mr. Kessler's presentation, he used two methodologies to compare prices between the years of 2016 and 2023. One methodology showed that we paid a premium of $8,800,000 annually, or 17%. The other methodology that he used showed that we paid a premium of $7 million annually, or 13%. So for over that period of 8 years, St. Charles has paid an additional $56 million, between $56 million and $70.4 million more than if we had selected if we selected a power marketer in the past and received their average price. And I think that's critical to understand too, is that comparison used an average price. We are a high load customer. We wouldn't get an average price. Everybody knows, or most people, all the business people, you all know volume equals lower prices. It would be totally reasonable and expected for us to get a price that's lower than average. The average price was lower on the comparison, and thus our potential savings would be even greater than what I just stated. And you know, those are just two data points related to affordability. I want to point out, it was a few months ago, we got like 5 data points. A few months ago, we had Nest come in here. That's that Naperville group. You might agree with them, you might not agree with them. But one of the people came in here, and they gave a presentation, and they estimated that St. Charles overpaid $148 million over 11 years. It's in the same direction, and it's still a huge number. It's over a larger period, 11 years, but it points to the same direction. And heck, I was here in November or December, and I provided my testimony when I was in industry, and I worked at an X-ray tube plant, and we put our power out for a competitive bid. And that time I testified to you guys. I couldn't remember the exact number, but I said we saved a ton of money. It was between 10 and 15%, and that's not unreasonable for us to expect in the future. And it looks like these numbers are right in line with that. And I also want to point out another data point, and this was the Public Works Director in Winnetka. And during one of his presentations, he stuck up a price comparison between Winnetka's prices and ComEd, not power marketers, but Winnetka and ComEd. And on that, they had a 10%. Winnetka was paying 10% more than ComEd customers. So all these data points, 5 data points, they all point to the same conclusion. IMEA is not affordable. They are expensive. We are all paying a premium for our power. All the citizens, all the businesses, and all the organizations. Regarding costs, Mr. Kessler went on to state, I think this is important too, that if IMEA decided and Prairie State decided to continue to generate, even if we pulled out, that they might produce that power and sell it on the market at a loss. And if they do that, and they sell it at a loss, you know who's going to be holding the bag for that. That's going to be remaining members of the agency. We'll all have to true up with them and make them whole. And if Naperville pulls out, then we represent 20% of their business. And if they have to sell that energy on the market at a loss, we got to pick up 20% of IMEA's portion of those losses. So that's a huge risk that I think we all should take into consideration. Now IMEA is telling us that our costs are going to go down post-2035 because the bond debt will be eliminated. I forgot one comment about the prices in the past. Sean pointed out that the bond debt cost for IMEA cannot explain away our current high prices that we're receiving now. he just stated that, I'd hope you remember where he was explaining to you all that IMEA made the choice to take on the bond debt to secure the rated capacity and to build those power plants. These alternate providers, they have rated capacity cost and their rates too. They just chose to secure that capacity in a different means. So these higher prices cannot be explained away because they have bonds, currently have bonds. But now IMEA, they're telling us that post-2035, our prices are going to go down because the bond debt will be eliminated and be retired. And that's true, and that's a real cost that's going to be eliminated. But we have no commitments in that contract, zero, that any of those cost savings are going to be passed down to any of the members of the organization. Additionally, we have no idea what additional costs and expenses IMEA is going to take on between now and 2035. In addition to that, we have no idea what the other providers' cost structures are now and how they're going to be in 2035 and how they'll affect their rates in 2035. The only way we're going to know is if we wait, if we're patient, if we keep our options open, and if we do a competitive bid, where we can make an apples-to-apples comparison. That's the only way we are going to know. I believe IMEA is pressuring you now because they know we can't get a competitive bid to do that type of comparison. So they're trying to pressure you and scare you now into a contract now because they don't want to compete in the market. They don't want us to get competitive bids from these other providers to look at them to do an apples-to-apples comparison. Please, do not reward IMEA's poor cost performance and poor behavior with a new contract. Wait. Keep all your options open. Heck, IMEA can participate whenever the time comes for us to conduct a competitive bid. It'll be welcome. And we'd be much less likely for them to try to put in any type of penalty to us in the new contract if they know they have to compete against all these power marketers. I have a great suspicion that we wouldn't see any type of penalty because they got to compete in the open market. They are expensive now. So please wait till the appropriate time is to conduct a competitive bid and let that competitive process create the best result for all the citizens, businesses, and organizations of St. Charles. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Mengler, and I'm a resident of the 3rd Ward in St. Charles. I'm a 40-year resident of St. Charles, and I would like to echo and add my voice to the comments of my colleagues so far. I think the upcoming decision about the IMEA contract may be one of the most important votes you'll ever cast here as our City Council. Climate change is very real, and it's not waiting for anyone. Signing the contract that IMEA is offering commits St. Charles to 80% of its electricity from a coal-fired power plant until 2055. There's some chance IMEA will bring on other sources of power before that time, but there's nothing in the contract that commits them to doing so. And I'm sure that you're all aware Prairie State is the largest source of air pollutants in Illinois. Do we really want to continue to be partly responsible for that for much longer than we need to? As one of my colleagues said earlier, the argument that they'll keep polluting even if we pull out doesn't relieve us of the obligation of doing the right thing for the future. On the economic side, which you've just heard about in detail, I would like to add my voice. The contract that IMEA has offered St. Charles provides no price guarantees, no maximums. It'd be like buying a house that you don't know what the price is. for any other major service or contract, the city would put that out on a competitive bid, requiring some pricing information. The current IMEA contract rates have been stable over time, but nothing's really locked in the contract they're offering. Instead, we would have a rate schedule which makes sure that IMEA can cover their expenses, as we've just heard. With a different competitive electrical power marketer, we could either lock in a fixed price or go with a variable rate. It would be our choice. We, as a community, would be in control. IMEA, as a not-for-profit, covers all the costs they need to with their rate schedule that guarantees they break even. Staff costs, maintenance costs, new bonds if they needed to upgrade the plant, new PPA costs, everything is covered in that rate schedule. Like a Vegas casino, the house never loses. The new IMEA contract locks us into IMEA until 2055 and will require we pay for all the expenses for the 2 coal plants and any other generation sources they procure along the way. Whereas the power marketers will allow us to lock in a fixed or variable rate that is our choice. So St. Charles could vote no now, and as we just heard, then seek competitive bids at the right time before our IMEA contract expires. This would seem to me to be far more desirable for St. Charles from an economic standpoint. We could put out an RFP, we would see more competitive bids, and we've learned that IMEA can even bid on that, and they just did bid for another community. So they're trying to bully us into thinking it's now or never with them. Isn't true. They're still going to want our business 10 years down the road in a competitive situation. So finally, as we learned from the Kessler report, if St. Charles put out an RFP now or in the future for electrical power, we would likely receive at least 8 to 10 very competitive bids. My understanding is they could all offer the full services that we currently get from IMEA and that we would expect in the future, so that there's no additional staff costs for the city. I work as an environmental consultant, and I have as one of my clients one of those energy companies that would likely bid on it. And it wouldn't require anything extra of the city other than managing the initial setting up of that contract. And as we heard from my colleagues earlier, it can be done in 6 months. So I would just urge you to do the right thing for the future of our kids and grandkids, the future of the planet, the right thing for St. Charles, both economically and environmentally. And in your contemplations, think about how this decision will look to your grandkids in 30 years. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jack Shoba. I live in St. Charles. I'm a new resident and following that discussion with interest, and I find it very complex. But when I look at it, to me, I think it's rather simple. I am a biologist. I'm looking at this from a different angle than most people. There are 4 elements that make up the bodies of all living things: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Carbon is in really short supply. There is carbon dioxide in the air, but it is a very small amount. But it's been constant for millions of years at 280 parts per million. It was 311 when I was born. It was 320 when I started teaching biology. It's 420 today and rising rapidly. It was 420. The last time it was 420 was 3 million years ago. The ocean was 16 feet deeper, so we're seeing the beginnings of the rise of the ocean and all kinds of other problems. It's predicted to go to 700 in the near future. Our climate in northern Illinois today is about what it was in central Illinois not too many years ago. And it will be about like it is in Texas by the end of the century. I have kids that live in Texas. I don't like to visit them in the summer. It's 100 degrees for a couple of months in a row. I saw one prediction that by 2053 we'll have northern Illinois temperatures of 125 degrees. So to me, it's simple in that we really need to get out of the carbon business as quick as we can. I drove here tonight in a coal-powered electric vehicle. Think about that. Does that make any sense at all? We need to get out of the fossil fuel business as quickly as we can. And I'd like to think of St. Charles as leaders, not followers. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Hilda Pruker. I live in the 5th Ward. Everybody has spoken so eloquently. I honestly don't know why I decided to come up here. I had great ideas, but they've said it much better than I can say it. I guess I have 2 points. One is the only question, there are all these ins and outs and subterfuges and whatever sort of thing, but the only question is there a compelling reason to sign the IWI contract now, this month? And the answer is no. There's no compelling reason to do that. We have electricity for 10 more years, and no matter what you decide, that doesn't change. They've created this artificial deadline and kind of these scare tactics and made everybody afraid of all sorts of things. But if we don't sign now, we have electricity, and we have time to figure out what to do. We would go for competitive bids from some of these power marketers that Sean talked about. We don't have to change staffing levels. These companies, we have not necessarily heard of these companies, but they're well-respected, good companies. If they weren't, they'd be out of business. If they are in the business of providing power from renewable energy sources. And I think there has been concern that, is there going to be enough energy, alternative energy? There is, and we heard that stated very well. And at the moment, if their customers weren't satisfied, they wouldn't even be in business. If they couldn't deliver what they promised in their contract, that'd be the end of them, but they're still there. And so this is sort of the obsidian obvious. Just because we don't know much about them doesn't mean that they aren't very well known. We would not be saying no to IMEA because when we put this out for competitive bids, IMEA is welcome to bid. And as I think it was Greg said, they're not going to penalize us then because they have to compete with the power marketers. So I've just said everything, people have already said this. With competitive bids, St. Charles would be in a position to get the type of contract we want with the type of energy sources that we want. And we would have much more control over our energy future. So thank you all for thinking about this and considering it and getting the independent contractor. And frankly, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rich Cochran. I live in St. Charles. Good evening. We have heard the term local control a lot as IMEA encourages St. Charles to enter into a new energy contract that won't take effect until 10 years from now and then extend 20 years beyond that start date. We have heard IMEA say that St. Charles has a seat at the table when decisions are made about energy sources, cost, sustainability, and delivery. But the seat is at a very large table, and St. Charles is only one of 32 members, even though St. Charles is the second largest member among those 32. If the St. Charles City Council chooses to say no to IMEA's new contract and instead chooses to solicit bids from power marketers, it will have the only seat at the table, and that table will belong to St. Charles. By choosing to seek bids from power marketers, St. Charles will have the opportunity to exercise its local control over a diversified energy portfolio, energy costs, sustainability policy and programs, length of the contract term, demand response and energy efficiency programs, new technologies yet to be developed and introduced into the marketplace. And remember, PGM is responsible for reliability, not IMEA. With IMEA, St. Charles does not and cannot exercise local control over any of these matters unless at least 16 other municipalities desire the same outcome. It is time for St. Charles to take back local control of its municipal electrical utility. It is time for St. Charles to say no to the IMEA contract and say yes to an energy future that is more reflective of the St. Charles community's needs and goals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm Rhonda Baird. I'm from the 5th Ward. I got invited tonight from my next door neighbor, and I've been listening to everybody, and I kind of feel a little electrified that I live with so many amazing community members that came up tonight. I'm a pretty quiet person, not highly educated, lots of life experience. I'm 60 years old this year, and I bought an EV vehicle because I know that's the future that's coming. It's not the gas-powered vehicle. And I wanted, while I was still feeling young enough, to learn how to do something new, to get a chance to do it while I still felt comfortable. Because I don't want to be trying it in 10 years or in 20 years when I'm too scared. And then my choices of driving are limited because I didn't figure out how to use an EV vehicle. So just for whatever that's worth, it's just kind of a thought that it's okay to get started thinking about the future because it's coming. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kurt Schlinkman. I live in St. Charles, Ward 1. I've been a resident of St. Charles for about 47 years. I really would kind of just like, everybody said everything a lot more eloquent than I could, but I would just like to again say we should vote no for this. The reasons were all stated, but I know there's some hesitancy because, hey, we're going out in a new direction. This is something that's a change. We're not used to changes. It's nice to stay with what we know. But what we know isn't a good thing. We're St. Charles. We're Pride of the Fox. Let's move forward.
All right. Well, thank you very much for everybody's public comment. Greatly appreciated. A couple things before we conclude tonight. First, Alderman Gem talked about it, but to Chief Matteo and your crew, I just want to again reflect on the fact that we had a very, very difficult week last week with a kayaker that was lost. Our heartfelt condolences go out to that kayaker and his family as we get more information. But as it relates to not only myself, but everybody that's up here, we saw how our fire department and our first responders responded. I went down during the search just to see and just to show support. And I'll tell you, this was what I saw. I saw not only St. Charles Fire Department and St. Charles Police Department, but 29 different agencies that had come together to try to work together to find that kayaker, and then once that wasn't possible, to try to recover his body. I saw the dignity and the respect that everybody did their jobs with. It was solemn. They understood exactly what they were tasked with doing. It rained, it was hot, there were a lot of different conditions, and yet what I heard the chief say when a reporter asked him, well, what happens if it rains? He said, we continue to do what we do to try to recover that body. And, again, I just think it goes to show exactly when we talk about the pride of the Fox, Chief, on behalf of all the council and behalf of all the citizens, I just want to make sure that you understand how appreciative we are of the way that you did your job. You made us proud, and please pass along our thanks to everybody that was out there. So thank you. Next up, it's hard to believe because when I went to school, we didn't start school until after Labor Day. But school starts Tuesday, August 13th. Please make sure that everybody remembers that there's going to be excited kids running across the streets to get to school, to get to the bus. Lots of people out there, and so just please be aware. Make sure that we're always paying attention and make sure your neighbors are doing the same. We want all those kids to get to school safe, not only on the first day, but every day of school. It's an exciting time when school starts back up, and just remember that as well. A couple birthdays. John, got your birthday here on August, was it tomorrow, right? Or today? Today. Happy birthday. And we have Jessica's birthday on August 17th, correct? Right. So, again, appreciate everybody's time and attention. Is there a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting, please?
So moved.
All right, so there was 5 people that said so moved. All right, I'm gonna go with, we'll go Gem, close. Second. Spelman, second. Roll call, please.
Kulkaitis?
Yes.
Funk?
Yes.
Bongard?
Yes.
Munn?
Yes.
Gem?
Yes.
Spelman?
Yes.
Petrillo?
Yes.
Wirball?
Yes.
Besner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Okay, the ayes have it, and the city council meeting is now adjourned. We'll now turn it over to Councilmember Weber for his